How's it going, guys? This is Ideas of Ice and Fire. In my last review for Game of Thrones, I was quite lenient. There were a lot of things that I could have pointed out, but chose not to because I was trying to be positive about the episode, and people still acted like assholes. So guess what? I'm done being lenient. Now when Game of Thrones sucks, I'm gonna point out that it sucks. I'm not gonna coddle you like little babies and tell you that this show that you only like because it's popular is just always great. Oh, little baby, you just want to be told that this awful episode that you like is just awesome, and you're not dumb for liking this episode. And you know, I've never said anybody was dumb for liking something that I didn't like. But when something is shit, it's shit. Get over it. Game of Thrones has been on a steady decline since season 4, and if you can't see that, then you have no cinematic palate whatsoever. As far as this episode, however, I quite liked it actually. My favorite scene was definitely the Euron scene. So you have the sand snakes in this boat, and they're being super annoying and super unlikable as usual, and so is Yara. Like, I've never liked Yara. She has been a constant annoyance since she first appeared in season 2. And so Ellaria Sand is all like, "Can I have some more wine?" And if I were Theon, I would have been like, "No, bitch, you cannot have any more wine. No, choke on the fucking wine that you already have in your fucking cup because you only took a goddamn sip of it." So Euron attacks their fleet, and the Silence crashes into their ship, and you see the prow of the fucking Silence come down, and Euron's on it, roaring like a fucking madman, and the prow crashes down onto their ship, and it crushes some guy, and Euron gets off of it and starts just taking names and swinging the axe like a freaking lunatic. He grabs fucking Obara, and he like totally fucks her shit up and like kills that annoying little cretin first, and I'm so glad he killed her first. She deserved to die first. She was the one that I hated the most, other than Ellaria. And then he takes the other one and strangles her with her own freaking whip, which was awesome. I loved seeing those two die slow. So Ellaria and the other one get captured by Euron's men, and Ellaria's like, "Just kill us now, just kill us now." And the way the guy looks at her is like, "No, bitch, you're not dying now. Cersei Lannister has got plans for you, and I know Cersei is gonna make Ellaria watch her daughter die. I know it. I can't wait to see Ellaria Sand suffer because she has it coming." And then so you get to the final scene, which I also thought was very impactful. You got Euron, and he's got the axe up to Yara's neck, and he's like, "Theon, come get her, Theon." And she's like crying and bleeding and stuff, and Euron looks like a total madman, and Theon, he sees the death. People are getting their tongues cut out and ears sliced off. They've totally lost. And he cowards out, and he jumps off the prow of the ship, and Euron's just laughing like a freaking lunatic. And then at the end, you also get the shot of the bodies on the prow, which is a callback to the Forsaken from the Winds of Winter, which was awesome to see. Very much enjoyed this scene. 10 out of 10 just for killing Obara and her sister. My other most favorite scene was Arya and Nymeria's wolf pack. Yes, I've been waiting so long to see this, and they did it pretty much exactly how I expected it. They made the wolf pack smaller, and I knew that Nymeria was probably not going to stay with Arya, but it was beautiful to see, and it's awesome how big Nymeria got. I think this is the biggest they've ever shown a direwolf yet, and this is how they're supposed to be. They're freaking huge, and I think a lot of times in the show, before this, it didn't necessarily come across how big they're actually supposed to be. So yeah, they're like almost the size of horses. Like, these are big wolves once fully grown. So Arya's like, "Come home with me to Winterfell," because she had previously heard from Hot Pie, who it was great to see again, that Jon Snow was king of the North, and instead of going to King's Landing to kill Cersei, she's going to the North because Jon Snow's there. And Nymeria just kind of turns around and walks away from Arya. She doesn't kill her, she doesn't snap at her, she doesn't bite her or anything. She just turns around because this isn't her. And I love the line that Arya has at the end of the scene, "That's not you." And that is a callback to season 1, Arya and Ned's conversation, when Ned is telling Arya that she's going to marry a lord and live in a castle and be the lady of a castle, and she says to Ned, "That's not me, and this is not Nymeria. Nymeria belongs in the wild, not with Arya." And it was just a really heartbreaking scene. I think it was even more sad than their first parting. But I love it because I feel like this here, it shows you that Nymeria is still alive, and this is what she has become. She's grown up and changed a lot, just like Arya has grown up and changed a lot. Love the scene. So we've got Jorah at the Citadel, and the Archmaester is basically telling him, "I'm gonna ship you off to Valyria to live out the rest of your days with the Stone Man," which is slightly different in the book because it's not in Valyria in the book. Like in the books, it's somewhere on the Rhoyne River because no one even sells near Valyria in the books. Like the Stone Men live on an island somewhere in the Rhoyne, which is like this huge legendary river that goes through Essos. So Sam tells the Maester that he has found some kind of cure for grayscale in one of the books that he stole from the restricted section, which a lot of you guys pointed out to me that the book on the left that it said Dragonglass is a cure for. So a lot of people had already figured out that it said that in that book. And the Maester basically tells Sam that the guy who did this died of grayscale, so this treatment is banned because it's simply too dangerous. But Sam is defying the rules again, and he's gonna do this treatment on Jorah, and you get this totally awesome scene, this totally awesome gory scene, which I totally like because I'm a fan of makeup and like weird gross stuff like this. So he's like peeling the skin off of Jorah, and he's like peeling off his epidermis, and the look on Sam's face is just like so mad scientist, and it just looks so painful and awful. And he says to Jorah, put this in your mouth because I don't want anybody to hear you scream. So Sam is curing Jorah through some forbidden method that apparently involves dragonglass. And yes, I am still holding tight to the idea that Shireen Baratheon was never healed from grayscale. It was simply dormant within her, and I know that the show may have a different take on that, and that's totally fine with me. Another scene which I liked, actually, was the dragon killer scene. So Cersei is talking to some of the lords of Westeros, including Randyll Tarly, about Daenerys Targaryen and how they have to stop her because she's probably crazy just like the Mad King. And they're like, but she's got dragons, how are you gonna kill a dragon? And then Cersei just looks at Qyburn, and then you get this scene down in the dungeons where all the dragon skulls are. And Cersei and Qyburn walk up to the skull of Balerion the Black Dread, and then Qyburn unveils this sick-looking device, and Cersei launches an arrow straight through the skull of Balerion the Black Dread, one of the greatest dragons that have ever lived. And it was awesome. But remember, guys, to kill a dragon, you have to hit a dragon, and dragons can fly pretty dang fast. Like, how long does it take to load this weapon? How accurate is it? It balances the odds a little bit, but you know, still, they are dragons. We get this interesting dilemma as well with Randyll Tarly and where his allegiances really lie, because he's like, you know, I grew up with Lady Olenna, but then Jaime's like, you also swore an oath to the crown, and he's like, well, Cersei is going to need a new warden of the South after the war, and he's trying to tempt him with power, which is totally the right way to go, Jaime, because power is very tempting. People in the real world betray their friends and family for power all the time. All the time. And like Jaime said, he may have sworn an allegiance to Highgarden, but he also swore allegiance to the crown. And I also think it's very interesting that Jaime is the one having this conversation, because he also had a conversation with Catelyn Stark about how vows sometimes contradict each other and how honor is really bullshit. So the Missandei and Grey Worm scene was stupid and awkward, and I would have rather not had it just like every one of their scenes together throughout the entire series. I don't care. We only got 5 more episodes this season. So in the Dany scene, Dany brings into question the loyalty of Varys, which any person would probably do if you're smart, and Varys straight up says, no, I'm not loyal to any king, I'm loyal to the realm. And I literally clapped when Varys said that, because all these high lords are dancing around like they're the greatest thing ever, while the common people are starving and suffering, being put through hell, because people like Tywin Lannister want to burn their villages to teach the great lords a lesson. So I very much enjoyed that little scene between Varys and Daenerys. We also get the Melisandre scene from the trailer, and what I liked about this scene was that Missandei corrects Daenerys and she says, actually, prince that was promised could also mean prince or princess because Valyrian is gender neutral. And Melisandre basically tells Daenerys what we knew she was going to tell her, which is that she needs to basically hook up with Jon because she needs Jon to fight the Great War, which is to come. So Tyrion vouches for Jon Snow because he knew Jon Snow back in season 1, and Daenerys is like, okay, he can come, but she makes it clear that he must bend the knee. All this King in the North stuff, he's got to cut it out. Got to cut it out. You bend the knee to Queen Daenerys. And I don't know if Jon Snow will necessarily agree with this, but what I will say is that Jon has seen the others. He knows the threat, So I think Jon may be willing to give up his crown because they do need Daenerys' help to fight the armies of the dead. So back at Winterfell, Jon Snow is still receiving letters. King Jon Snow, first of his name, receiver of letters. He gets a letter from Sam telling him that there's dragonglass at Dragonstone, which actually comes after the letter that he gets from Daenerys for some reason. I mean, Dragonstone is a little bit closer to the north, so maybe that has something to do with it. And we also don't know the exact timeline for when the letters were sent, I guess. And Jon Snow pretty much makes up his mind that he's gotta go and talk to Daenerys, which everyone disagrees with, including Sansa, but he's like, you made me king of the north. I didn't want this responsibility, but since I am king, I'm gonna do what it takes to save the north, because I have seen the others. I have seen the threat that's coming. None of you have. So Sansa, you stay here and rule over the north while I'm gone. So the other scene in the north that I did enjoy as well, Jon Snow is down in the crypts and he's looking at a statue of his father, Eddard Stark. And so Littlefinger walks up and he's talking shit, so Jon Snow has to choke a bitch. What of it? I see nothing wrong with this, and I wish he would have continued until Littlefinger's eyes rolled into the back of his head. So that is my review for Season 7, Episode 2 of Game of Thrones. I liked it much better than the first episode. I give this an 8.5 out of 10. The dialogue is a little messy, but I've come to expect that from recent episodes of Game of Thrones. So I'm looking forward to all the butthurt peoples in my comment section. Thanks for the views. Make sure you like and subscribe for more ideas of Ice and Fire.